Greetings, my peeps, and welcome to the All Things Basketball Podcast with your boy GD. In this episode, I will recap Week 6, all that went on from the melee between Pat Bev and those Phoenix Suns. Also talking about a variety of things, your resurgent Phoenix Suns. Also, the NBA app has something interesting going on. And Ben Simmons makes his return to Philly. So, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, guys. So, we are on to Week 6. Well, Week 6 just finished, so let's recap all that went on for Week 6 in the NBA, shall we? So let's get into it. We're going to talk about the players of the week for the previous week, and ironically enough, it was two guys that were actual teammates. So in the East, you have Tyrese Haliburton for the Indiana Pacers, whose team, by the way, went 3-0 for the week. He averaged 21 points, 11 assists, and 4 rebounds for the week. And in that week, they defeated the Charlotte Hornets, the Houston Rockets, and Orlando Magic. So, teams that aren't really in the hunt. So, they pretty much took care of business as far as, beating teams you're supposed to beat. So, but Tyrese Haliburton so far putting up an all-star season for those Indiana Pacers. So, and then in the West, we have DeAaron Fox. Remember, both of them were with the Sacramento Kings. Actually had them both in the same backcourt starting at one point. But DeAaron Fox, who's healthy, looked like he's ready to go. And his team, the Sacramento Kings, went 3-0 for the week. He averaged 25 points a game with 8 assists. And he shot at a whopping 60% from the field. So, definitely putting in that work. And they defeated for the week Denver, San Antonio, and Detroit. So, in fact, one of the hottest teams in the NBA, definitely in the West, is those Sacramento Kings. Right now, they're at they're at a 6-game win streak. And I think I mentioned it before, but it bears repeating. Mike Brown can coach. Mike Brown can coach in this league. And he has a pretty solid team over there for the Kings. Also has Domantas Sabonis. He has him over there. The rookie Keegan Murray. He got Kevin Herro from the Atlanta Hawks. Got Malik Monk from the Lakers, and he put in work last year. So look out for those Kings, man. Don't sleep on those Kings. Especially when the head of the snake is putting up numbers like this. That being DeAaron Fox. So I wouldn't sleep on them in the West, that's for sure. So, but nonetheless, that is your players of the week, guys. Okay, so let's go through each day of last week. So we'll start off with Monday. Monday, you had Zion Williamson. He returned for the New Orleans Pelicans after missing 3 games because of that foot. The foot issue, guys, I think that's going to be an ongoing thing throughout the season. So, guys, if you have him in fantasy basketball, you just got to grin and bear it, man. You drafted him knowing that, there's going to be times where he sits because of that foot. So he missed 3 games, but he returned back on Monday versus the Golden State Warriors, and they actually win that game, 128-83. That was the game in which the Golden State Warriors sat Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and Draymond Green. So the Pelicans were playing the B team for the Warriors, and they beat them. But Zion in his first game back, 9 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists, and he only played 23 minutes. So kind of Willie Green is treating him with kid gloves there. So, but he's back nonetheless. So, but the biggest story Monday was what happened at Phoenix. The Phoenix Suns defeat the LA Lakers, and in that game, 2 things actually. One, Anthony Davis, who's been playing out of his mind right now. He's been healthy for the most part, guys, so you gotta give him credit there. So in this game, he drops 37 points, 21 rebounds, 5 steals, and 5 blocks. Wow. And they said he's the first to do that since they've been keeping up the stats for steals and blocks, which was in 1973. So a lot of people will say, oh, but Wilt was doing that before that. Or even Bill Russell, he might have did that once or twice. So the thing was, blocks weren't an official stat back then. So I'm pretty sure Wilt Chamberlain did it. It's just that those block stats were official stats. I'm sure people were keeping account, but it wasn't official till 73, guys. So, but the bigger issue in that game was late in the game. Austin Reeves for the Lakers. He goes in. Devin Booker blocks his shot and kind of stands over him a little bit, and then overcomes DeAndre Ayton, who really stands over the guy. Patrick Beverly wasn't having it, so he shoved Ayton. And, I mean, nice little shove he gave him. Mind you, Anthony Davis was standing there witnessing the whole thing and didn't really do much. So, you know something? When you take on a Patrick Beverly for your team, these are the kind of things that'll happen. So, he's a guy who's an instigator, a fire starter, if you will. And he's going to bring fire and desire to your team, that's for sure. He's putting up the worst numbers of his career right now for the Lakers. But he's giving them a little bit of oomph in that regard. I mean, it's not helping in the win column, but he's giving them a little toughness, so for what it's worth. So actually, we'll talk about the results of this later as I talk about the rest of the week. So nonetheless, that's what happened in that game. So let us move on to Tuesday, and then Tuesday, I don't know if you recall, guys, but Ja Morant, they deemed him to be out indefinitely because he had a grade 1 ankle sprain. The guy only missed 1 game. So Tuesday he comes back and he plays well. Although they lost the game, they lost to Sacramento Kings. Thus, the Kings pushing their record to their win streak to 7 games. But they lost that game 113 to 109. But here's what Ja Morant does. 34 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. This is a guy that was supposed to be out, this long length of time. And if you had him in fantasy, you probably stashed him in your injured reserve list, thinking that, you ain't going to be playing him anytime soon. He comes back after a game. So I got him on one squad at least. I had to hustle to get him off the IR because the guy's back already. So what can you do? But Ja Morant back and healthy for the Memphis Grizzlies. But the biggest story on Tuesday was Ben Simmons making his return back to Philadelphia. He's with the Brooklyn Nets, by the way. He returns back to Philadelphia for the first time since the trade was made. And remember all the reasons and so that he got shipped out of there back in the year before. In the bubble there, in the playoffs, he was down there for a layup, passed it off instead of taking it himself. All 6'10" of them. So that led Doc Rivers to question his point guard. That led Joel Embiid to kind of take him to task for that. So in any event, then comes the trade, Harden for Ben Simmons and all those other pieces that came over. So anyhow, so he returns back to Philadelphia with a healthy Brooklyn squad. Kevin Durant, he's there. Kyrie, he's been back from his from a team-imposed suspension, and he's back. And what do they do going into Philly? They lose that game, 115-106. This is a game on paper at least they should have won, guys. But Ben Simmons in his return, he did have 11 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. Pretty good. But the big story of the game was how the Brooklyn Nets, I watched that game from pillar to post, and they first of all they got out-rebounded rather, 56-43, and then they got killed from 3-point range. Philly shot at 50% from 3, in fact, made 16 threes. Whereas the Nets, they only shot at 32%, only making 7 threes. So there you go. That's your difference right there. That's a difference of about 27 points. They only lost by 9, so it could have been worse. But nonetheless, they lose a game like that, which, everybody's like this apologist for that team. I don't see them doing a whole lot in the playoffs. I really don't. Will they be competitive? Of course, because you got Kevin Durant and you got Kyrie, so you're going to be competitive. I still say they finished last in that division, but that's a whole nother story. But in any event, yeah, so I just don't see them. I don't see. You need something extra to win a chip, and they ain't got it. So sorry for the slang, but yeah, but they don't have it together for my liking to go all the way. You need a mental toughness, and I can tell you right off the top they don't have that. So anyway, so we move on from that. Nikola Jokic, he has a near triple-double and a loss at home to Detroit of all teams, 110-108, where he has 31 points, 10 assists, and he's one short rebound with 9 rebounds. So, and then Miami right now, the arena is named the FTX Arena, but Miami and Miami County wants to get that name taken off of there because the company actually filed for bankruptcy about a few weeks ago. So, right, and FTX is a crypto exchange company, so they want to get the name off of there. And there's a lot of companies vying for name rights. One nefarious site is actually a porn website, so which speaks to a larger picture, the fact that a site like that can afford to buy arena, but that's a story for another day. So anyway, So that's all the news for Tuesday. Let's move on to Wednesday. Wednesday, Luka Doncic, he drops 42 points along with 9 assists, 8 rebounds, but in a loss to Boston, 125-112. So Boston did the old let Luka shoot it, and we'll at least cover him with somebody, but don't let these other guys beat us. So, and in that game, Jason Tatum scores 37, while his counterpart Jaylen Brown 31 to seal the deal for the Boston Celtics, who are the pride of the NBA right now. So, and then again, Nikola Jokic, again, he flirts with a triple-double in an overtime win over the OKC, 131-126. In that game, he has 39 points, 10 rebounds, and he's short the assists now with only 9 assists. And the irony is, his teammate Bruce Brown gets the triple-double instead. 17 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists, along with 4 steals as well. So for those who have Jokic in fantasy, I'm sure you're happy with those huge numbers, but he's just falls one shy of a triple-double, whereas Bruce Brown gets it. Bruce Brown, kind of on the low, has been a pretty good pickup for them in the offseason. So he didn't play that bad when he was in Brooklyn, so he's getting opportunity now because Michael Porter Jr., he's down once again. So Bruce Brown taking advantage of opportunities here. So definitely kudos for that. So moving on, well, Thursday. In Thursday action, there was none because it was Thanksgiving, but there was news that came out of the NBA league office. Patrick Beverly, remember the shove from Monday? He's suspended for 3 games because of that. So again, when you take on a Patrick Beverly, these kind of things can or cannot occur. They happen to occur. So he's sitting 3 games. So for what it's worth, hey, might help the Lakers because as bad as he was playing. So, and then another piece of news coming out of Thanksgiving. CJ McCollum of the New Orleans Pelicans, he enters into health and safety protocols. So he'll miss some games because of that. So we'll see how soon he comes back from that. Then let's talk Friday. Gordon Hayward. Seems like anytime you mention him, some kind of injury news is coming after it. And that's the case here. He's out indefinitely with a shoulder contusion for the Charlotte Hornets. So he previously missed 8 games early in November because of the shoulder. Now he's out again. So Gordon Hayward's one of those players who frustrates you. When he's on the court, he's golden. But injury woes seems to accompany him no matter what. So that's not so great news for Charlotte, who is still without LaMelo Ball. So you have his injury. And currently, I believe Terry Rozier, he's out for tonight's game. So Charlotte Hornets trying to navigate with the injuries and everything else. And of course, you have the Miles Bridges situation. So let's move on. LeBron James returns after missing 6 games because of that abductor strain. So, and he comes back only for them to get the win. They got the win at San Antonio, 105-94. And in that game, LeBron has 21 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals for the win. So LeBron James still chasing Kareem this year. So of course, we'll be watching that situation closely. And then Friday, the Knicks return back from a long 5-game Western road trip, and they come back only to lose to Portland at home. It actually lost that in overtime, 132 to 129. The big thing in that game, Jeremy Grant goes nuts. 44 points for him. And then Anthony Simons, who's carrying the load while Dame Lillard is out. 38 points for him in that win. So, also in Friday news, Shake Milton. I tell you what, man, he's been balling as of late. He has a near triple-double, 24 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, as Philadelphia 76ers get the win in Orlando, 107-99. But back to Shake Milton. He's been inserted in the starting lineup, and he's playing great. By the way, they've gone 3-1 for the week, so don't be surprised in my week 6 wrap-up, culminating in what happened this whole week. You might hear Shake Milton's name as player of the week in the East, possibly. His team went 3-1, and while doing that, he averaged about 23 points a game, nearly 8 assists with nearly 7 rebounds. So, pretty good week for Shake Milton, filling in for James Harden at the point guard position. So, and then Friday, last piece of news, a pair of big men drops 38 points as Bam Adebayo leads Miami over Washington, 112-107. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo, he helps his team to a 117-102 win with those 38 points. And he does that over Cleveland. So that bit of news there closes out your Friday's news. And then Saturday, we go to actually the NBA app. The NBA app will stream every Victor Wembanyama game. Of course, Wembanyama, he is the big prized draft choice to be. The consensus consider him to be the number 1 pick in 2023 draft. So every game that he plays for that French league that he's in will now be streamed on the NBA app, free of charge, if you have the NBA app. So that's curious. But everybody wants to see what this kid can do, albeit it's against French competition. Still, he's one who's, this rare sort of 7-footer who has skills of a point guard. He can block shots, he can hit threes, and big things are awaiting him in the NBA, provided, he's standing upright when all is said and done. So, and then LeBron James, he drops 39 points, so he's back in the swing of things with 11 rebounds and 3 assists as they beat San Antonio again in consecutive games in San Antonio, by the way, 143 to 138. So I guess if you let the Lakers play the Spurs all season, they'll go 82-0, but I digress. So, and then in the last piece of Saturday news, DeAndre Ayton, part of that big melee that took place Monday night with the Lakers. For the Phoenix Suns, he drops 29 points with 21 rebounds and 2 blocks as they squeak by Utah, 113 to 112. Oh, by the way, there is a new leader atop of the Western Conference. That is the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are amongst the top tier team. Well, they are the top team right now with a game over Denver in the West. So I tell you what, man, that Phoenix franchise, embattled as they are with the Robert Sarver situation there. Also, you have the situation with Jay Crowder, who's yet to play a game for the Phoenix Suns once they get traded. Also, you have Chris Paul, who's when the season first started, he wasn't even playing that well. Now he's been out all this time, and even on top of that, you had the injury to Cam Johnson. So Phoenix have taken it on the chin early in this season, but nonetheless, they are sitting right now amongst the top in the West. I think that's a testament to that front office with James Jones just knowing how to fill in the pieces and keep this team afloat. And of course, Monty Williams, who your last year coach of the year, still doing wonders with that squad and keeping them afloat in the tough West this season. So shout outs to the Phoenix Suns over there. And then let's talk about Sunday right quick. Sunday, you have Ivica Zubac, who puts up a monster game. 31 points with 29 rebounds and 3 blocks. Whew, man. For the LA Clippers as they beat the Indiana Pacers 114 to 100. And that is actually the first 30-point and 20-plus rebound. Well, the first 31-point with nearly 30 rebound game since Shaquille O'Neal in the 2000s. So Zubac and rarefied air there. So, and then you have Tyler Herro, who has kind of a cheap triple-double, 11 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists for the Miami Heat as they get the win over Atlanta 106 to 98. And in that game also, Bam Adebayo, who's playing out of his mind as of late, 32 points and 8 rebounds. So, and then finally, Ja Morant for the Memphis Grizzlies, the guy who's supposed to be out with this ankle sprain. Yeah, that guy. He drops a triple-double with 27 points, 14 assists, 10 rebounds as they put in a road win against the New York Knicks. Oh gosh, I'm talking about the Knicks again. So 127 to 123. So 2 straight losses for the Knicks coming back home. Not good. Need to right the ship. You do have a Detroit team coming in here, so you desperately need a win there in that regard. So as far as the Knicks go, still teetering around the 500 area, so that needs to be looked into. I know Tibbs kind of saved his job with the West trip, but you come back 2 losses, although to 2 of the better teams in the West, but still, Nick's gonna have to figure some things out. That's for sure. R.J. Barrett still not as efficient as you want to see. Jalen Brunson playing out of his mind right now, although he had a couple of cracks at kind of taking the lead late in that game and came up short. But, he's a guy out there trying, so I can't knock him for that. So, Julius Randle, not such a great game, the last game out, so we'll see what happens. A bit of concern, looks like Manuel quickly kind of tweaked something, so we'll keep an eye on that situation. But the Knicks, what can you do with them? Anyway. All right, so I digress. So that is your week 6, guys, as far as NBA action goes. And got a heavy slate of games coming up as of tonight. A few good ones there. You have the up-and-coming Kings playing the Suns. So a battle in the Pacific Division there. What was once a kind of not so much of a pristine matchup, it is now, with as well as the Kings are playing. So you have a game like that on the slate, and the Hawks face Philly tonight. That should be an interesting game there. And then you move down the week, looking at a Warriors taking on Dallas in Dallas. Dallas right now, bit of news, kind of spilling tea early, but Kemba Walker has signed with the Dallas Mavericks, so it'll be interesting to see how he fits in that equation. I was listening to Give and Go on the NBA on Sirius XM, NBA's channel, and they're kind of in the camp that I'm in. Why in the world is Christian Wood not in the starting lineup? He should be starting for that team. I'm glad I'm not the only one who feels that way. So, because right now the Mavericks are another team teetering around 500. So they need to get some things in order there. Warriors are still struggling themselves, so this should be an interesting game on Tuesday. So, and then as you move down the week, tough game for the Knicks. They get the Bucks at home on a back-to-back because they go to Detroit, so that's not going to be a walk in the park. Philly facing Cleveland, that should be a good one, with the Celtics really playing above and beyond the Call of Duty. So that should be a good one there. And then as you move down the schedule, some interesting games. Jazz at Clippers, that should be a good one there. And then you have the actually the Kings taking on the Pacers, so you'll have both players of the week from week 5 facing off against each other, so that should be good. And then Lakers take on Blazers Wednesday. Soul game on Thursday, you have Mavericks and Pistons. That's a nothing burger there. And then Friday, you move on Nuggets and Hawks. That should be good. Raptors and Nets. Last time out, the Raptors kind of held KD at bay, so we'll see what happens there at the Barclays Center. The Bucks taking on the Lakers, so that'll be on ESPN, and I'm sure we'll see what happens there. But some interesting games there. Philly takes on the Grizzlies. That should be good. And so nice slate of games there. The Jazz facing the Indiana Pacers. What would normally be kind of a nothing game that's an interesting one there, with Pacers going to Utah. And then Saturday slate, you got an early game. The Mavs taking on the Knicks. Now, this should be must-watch TV, because remember, they got Jalen Brunson from the Mavericks. Although the Mavericks are coming here as opposed to Jalen going back to Dallas. So, but still, in any event, that should be interesting indeed. As you move through the schedule, the Kings taking on the Clippers. That'll mean something there. Late game, the Blazers taking on the Jazz. So, a couple of interesting games for Saturday. And then Sunday, the Cavs facing the Knicks at home. Of course, you know, the Donovan Mitchell factor hanging over that game. So, then you got the Nuggets and Pelicans. That should be a nice afternoon game there. Celtics and Nets. That should be a good one. That's your 6 o'clock game. And then, Lakers and Wizards. Yeah. And then, the late game, Pacers taking on the Blazers. That could be an intriguing game. NBA TV will have that one. So, all right, guys. So that is your look at the week ahead. So, I actually have a player spotlight coming up. So, just stay tuned for that. So, all right, guys. I am done. That's it for me. And once again, I thank you for listening. Oh, before I go, shout out to my boy Omar, who put me on to this league. He, one of the guys left, so he has me coming in as a taking over a team that's now 4-2. So shout out to him for putting me on and to this ESPN points league. I've still got to figure out the scoring and everything. And it's funny because I have to play him this week, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, a little bit of fantasy basketball talk. You never know what you get when you listen to the All Things Basketball with GD podcast. So, once again, thank you guys. I appreciate you listening as always, and we'll talk soon. Take care. So, my peeps, if you like what you're listening to, you can go to my website, www.allthingsbasketballwithgd.com. You can also email me at thatsportsdudegd@gmail.com. To support this podcast, you can go to my PayPal, and that email is thatsportsdudegd@gmail.com. Also on my Anchor page, I have a support button there that you can also use to help the podcast. I'm on all the major platforms like Anchor, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Amazon, SoundCloud, YouTube, Castbox, Radio Public, Podchaser, just to name a few. And also you can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Clubhouse, and Fanbase. So, once again, I thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. And take care and be safe.